Hey guys, the market just closed. It's Monday, June 15th, 4:07 p.m. And I think it was an overall great day in the market for me and probably a lot of people in Theta gang that were selling puts last week that got assigned. So just taking a quick look at the big board here. Mixture of red and green on the board, but that's fine because I was really afraid that today was going to be another big down day and we were going to have a lot of red on the board like we did Thursday, but that didn't happen. And I actually keep an eye on futures overnight, and it was pretty much red both last night and early this morning. I think the futures were down almost 1 to 1.5% right before the market opened, but we had a really good rally this morning, and I'll get into that. So if you remember from my prior videos, I had options on AMD and Micron last week, and I ended up getting my covered call expiring worthless on AMD. My put also expired worthless, but I had actually owned 200 shares of AMD at a cost basis of $52.95, and I actually got assigned Micron shares at a cost basis of $49.05 based on a cash secured put that I'd sold last week and I got assigned on. So just taking a look at the board here, you can see tech had a good day. Amazon, Facebook, Google, the big names, Apple, Microsoft were up about 1% or so or less. Semiconductors did well too. Look, AMD's up 2.1%. Intel 1.1, Nvidia 2.5, Micron's up 0.8%. So my two stocks that I had shares on right now were up and in the green, which was a great day for me. And I think today worked out very well for my strategy. So if you watched my video from last night about what my plan was going to today, my goal was to sell off my shares of AMD and Micron as quickly as possible because the market is a little choppy right now. And I want to be as much cash as possible in case we are at the beginning of another downturn. You know, my worst fear is that we're at another top and that we're going to start dipping again like we did in March and April. And so I didn't want to be caught bag holding. I want to be in and out of shares quickly and collecting small premiums along the way. So let's take a look at AMD here. So AMD, you know, I was watching it since the market opened, and you can see it opened up in the red. Pre-market, it was about down 1.5%, like I said. It opened up at around $52.64, so down 1.6%. And it was kind of trading there, and I thought that we were just going to trade sideways or have another down day overall in terms of AMD, but also overall in the market. And then I don't know what happened, but at 9:50 a.m. I was watching these charts, and I usually watch the minute by minute chart. AMD took off like a rocket from 9:50 a.m. to 10 a.m. So in 10 minutes, it jumped from 52.76 to 53.75. So it jumped basically $1 in 10 minutes, then continued to go up for the next 20 minutes all the way up to 54.30. So if you remember from my last video from last night, I have 200 shares of AMD at a cost basis of $52.95 each. So I said that my game plan was to be as cash as possible this week. So I actually ended up selling off my AMD shares. Once I saw this big pop, I said, let me get out of my shares, collect a little bit of profit in the meantime, and see what happens the rest of the day. So if we want to take a look at what I ended up doing today, I sold off my 200 shares of AMD at around 10 a.m. and I sold them for $53.73 per share. You know, once I saw this big pop, it was a quick pop with a lot of volume, and it was much more volume than I was seeing already early in the morning. I didn't know if this was going to be a quick spike up and spike down. So I wanted to make sure I sold off because I was already in the profitable range, because even when it opened around 52.62, around here, around 53, I was already profitable by a few pennies per share. And I sort of sold off there, and if I really wanted to just get out as quickly as possible. But I'm glad I waited a little bit. And then once it started going above, you know, high 53s, I really wanted to get out and just lock in those profits because I didn't want to keep holding and then have it come all the way back down to 52 or drop even lower and just miss out on those gains. So I didn't want to get greedy. So I sold out at 53.73. And yes, I mean, the stock continued to rally up a little bit more to 54, dipped down again, and actually ended up closing at 54.68. So I definitely left profit on the table. But like I said, that's all in hindsight, right? Hindsight's 2020. So nobody went broke taking profits, so I'm not even going to sweat that. I had a plan in place, and that was to sell out of my AMD share for profit or at the very least break even, and I accomplished my goal. So, a part of me was saying, oh, just keep holding on for a few more minutes, or hold on to the end of the day, because what if you miss out on profits because it goes higher? And I realized that was just my greed talking. And like I said, I made a plan for myself yesterday, and I'm going to stick to that plan and follow through. So that's exactly what I did, because I didn't want to get greedy, because this could have gone two ways, in that if I held off through the day, it could have rallied like it did today, or it could have dipped down even lower than where it started today. And honestly, like I said, I already thought that the market was going to be red today based on what happened the past 2 days. But like I said, I took profits, and so let's just calculate how much profit I took. So I sold them for $53.73 per share. I owned them at $52.95 a share. So I collected 78 cents in profit per share, and I owned 200 shares, and I sold all of them off. So I collected $156 in profit within the first, let's say, 45 minutes of the market opening. And just to put that into perspective in terms of how much of a return that is, I had 200 shares at $52.95. So I had $10,590 locked up in AMD shares. So again, that number was 78 cents times 200 shares. So $156 in profit divided by $10,590 that I had locked up in those 200 shares. So that is a return of about 1.5% just on my 200 shares within the first few minutes of the market opening. So that's a very good return on my risk. I mean, like I've said in my previous videos, if you have a cash portfolio of $25,000, a 0.4% return on my risk, which is what I aim for at minimum every week, is $100 a week. I've already surpassed that in the first couple minutes of Monday morning. So I'm already happy with that. So in terms of my AMD portfolio right now, I am 100% cash. I don't have any positions open, and I don't have any shares. So right now I do have some dry powder if I want to make some more plays this week, but we'll get into that towards the end of the video. So had a good morning in terms of AMD, and if we just want to take a look at the chart for AMD, we can see AMD's been kind of trading sideways for the most part, except for this big draw up and draw down, but it kind of stopped out. It's having a lot of resistance towards the end of the day at this Fibonacci level here, which is the 78.6% Fibonacci level. That has a stock price of roughly $54.50. So you can see we closed the day here. So come tomorrow, it'll be interesting to see if we draw back down a little bit and trade more in the middle of this range, or if we break through it and trade up here. Looking back, every time it's broken through that Fibonacci level and traded in the gray, it rather quickly drops back down into this light blue area. You can see the majority of the trading days for the past 2 months or so have been in this light blue area. I've said in the past that AMD really likes to trade between the low 50s and the mid 50s. And what we're kind of hoping for is to get shares in this range, wait for it to pop above to the mid 50s to high 50s, and sell off, and then just kind of rinse and repeat. That's been my game plan for AMD right now. So, I'll have to see. Part of me wishes that tomorrow AMD opens with a red, so then maybe I can sell some more cash secured puts in the low 50s, maybe even the high 40s, and then ride that wave up again. But I think I might hold off on opening any new positions even tomorrow, just because I don't know what the market is very unsteady right now. So let's just see what happens. My goal was to just be as much cash as possible this week, and I've already surpassed my weekly profit goal. So even if I don't make any more plays this week or make any more profit, I'm already happy with what's already happening this week. So that's my thought process on AMD right now. Actually, when AMD opened up this morning, when it was in the red at around $52, I could have gotten a cash secured put on AMD at $46 in terms of the strike price and collected 0.4% return on my risk. I had $5,000 left in my portfolio, so I did think about doing that. But again, this was right when market opened, and I said, no. If the market is going to dip right now, I don't want to get assigned even more shares of AMD. So again, I didn't want to get too greedy, so I held off. But I will tell you, it's hard to kind of hold back, because once you see these dollar signs and these setups that are making everything look good, you really want to jump in the market, and you want to not let your money go to waste per se by having a lot of it in cash in your account. but you just gotta kind of be disciplined and hold back. So the other stock that I currently owned is Micron. So Micron was similar in that it opened up in the red. It was almost down, over 3% pre-market. It opened down 2.5%, and then it slowly rallied up all day long. So Micron opened at 47.32, and I got assigned shares last Friday at $49.50 per share. So once I saw that Micron was rallying just like AMD was, and that it continued to slowly rally all day, I was just watching it, waiting for it to get, I wanted it to get to like $50 a share. That way I could sell off my 100 shares for a 50-cent profit per share and collect $50, and then again be all cash. It got close. It got to like the mid 49s, but it couldn't really break above 49, mid 49, like 49.50. So I could have, there was a point where it was like 49.63. I would have collected 13 cents per share, but the way that Micron was just slowly rallying up, I said, let me wait off, because maybe during power hour, it'll go really green and get past 50 and I'll sell off. But we ended up kind of dipping down back to 48.72, then ended the day at 49.24. So we're about 25 cents away from my strike price. And like I said, AMD was rallying all day. It wasn't up and down. So I said, you know what? Let me hold off and not sell off my shares, and let me see what happens tomorrow. Because maybe Micron goes up in after hours, and then it opens up at $50 or more. So I think what I'm going to do is, if Micron opens up in the green tomorrow, above $50, I'm going to set a stop loss at $50 a share, and then kind of watch the stock or go about my life. And if I see maybe if Micron rallies hard tomorrow, like 51 or something like that, then I'll just go ahead and sell off my shares. But by setting a stop loss at $50, I'm guaranteed to lock in profits, because even if Micron just starts to dip back down, I will lock in 50 cents per share of stock appreciation, which is $50 over 100 shares. And that way I can just kind of, feel good about myself and not have to watch the stock minute by minute for the whole day the market is open. But the first thing is that I need Micron to get above $50. That's kind of my profit target right now. I'm not trying to be too greedy, but I want to get in at Micron and collect a little bit of profit at $50. The other thing, the other options you could have said to me were, well, why don't you, instead of just selling off your shares of AMD and trying to sell off your shares of Micron, why don't you sell covered calls? The reason I didn't want to do that is because I feel the market is very tenuous right now. So even if I sell, let's say I were to sell a covered call on Micron for $49.50, because that's my cost basis. Right now I could collect $117 in a premium, and I wouldn't collect anything in stock appreciation, because $49.50 is exactly what I hold my Micron shares for. So I could do that. But then what happens if tomorrow Micron rallies to 52, then 53 on Wednesday, back down to 51 on Thursday, and then it goes to 49 on Friday? Well, I just rode the wave up and down. Yes, I collected $117 in premium, but then I still own the 100 shares of Micron. And my objective this week is to sell off the shares and ideally profit if I can. Now, the other thing is, you could say, well, what if you sell a $52 covered call, right, for $34 in premium? That way you'll collect stock appreciation. That's true, but what if by Friday Micron only rallies to 51? Well, then again, I've collected just a little bit of premium now and still have not gotten my shares called away. My objective this week is to be cash as much as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my stop loss at $50 per share. That way I don't risk losing money, and I'll at least profit around $50 total. But I'll continue to watch Micron, and let's say Friday, midday, Micron's trading at let's just say $52 a share. I can then sell a covered call that expires on Friday, the same day, so 0 days to expiration, and I could sell it at, let's say, the $51 strike price. That way I'm pretty much guaranteed that my shares will get called away. I'll collect a little bit of premium, and I'll collect stock appreciation. You could also say, well, why don't you just sell it right then and there for 52? And I could do that, and I would collect, let's say, $100 extra in stock appreciation between 51 and 52. But the other flip side is, the premium values are going to change, but what if the premium value does not offset my stock appreciation? So it's all kind of like a game at that point. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to watch Micron like I did AMD today and set a stop loss so I'm guaranteed to make a profit once Micron gets above $50. And then at some point, maybe I will either just flat out sell off my shares or I'll sell a covered call on Micron. You know, if it's at 52 on Friday, I could do a 51.50, for example. But overall, the most profitable way and the fastest way to profit right now is to just, if you want to lose your shares, it's just to sell off the stock altogether. And then the other flip side is remember, if you do that, you might have to wait for your cash to settle before you open up another play, which might take 2 or 3 days depending on your broker. So that's something just to keep in the back of your mind. But so I currently still own my 100 shares of Micron. And let's just take a look at the chart here. And I'm going to extend this Fibonacci level just because it's gotten a little bit too wide. So Micron's been trading in this teal area here. And you can tell between the past couple like weeks and months, it's been jumping between this dark green area and this teal area. You know, the few times where it's bounced up into the blue area, it's kind of come right back down. So I think Micron really likes trading between the low 40s and roughly the high 40s. So similar to AMD, my goal with Micron is to, when it gets in the low 40s, try and get assigned shares or just buy shares, ride it up until it gets to the mid 40s, you know, sell them off and profit, and then rinse and repeat. So Micron likes to play between low 40 and high 40 based on, you know, my opinion and what I'm seeing in the past few weeks and months. And then AMD likes to trade between the low 50s and high 50s. So if I know that pattern and it likes to repeat itself, I mean, you can see it's up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, then I can kind of formulate what my ideal entry points are and what my ideal exit points are. So right now, Micron's in the high 40s. So I am expecting Micron to have a pullback. You can see it rallied up really fast and it also rallied down really fast. So that's why I do want to get out of my Micron shares as quickly as possible. Because if you take a look at $50, Micron hasn't really traded at 50 or above very often. I mean, it did it just this past couple weeks. The last time it got above 50 was just for a blip back in April 29th. And then obviously like pre-pandemic. So I think Micron is a little bit high right now based on what it likes to do in the recent months. So I do want to get out of my Micron shares as quickly as possible because I don't want to be bag holding another dip. So I think if Micron does open up at, let's say, 50, and then maybe I'll watch it to see if it wants to go to 50, 55, you know, $50.50 or $51 tomorrow, exit for a quick profit, and then I will be 100% cash this week, unless I decide to open up some more puts for this week. But that's my game plan for this week. So I'm kind of halfway through my game plan. I was successful with AMD this week, or so far, I should say today, and hopefully I'll be successful for Micron tomorrow. Like I said, we closed Micron about 25 cents away from my strike price. So as long as Micron or the market opens up a little sideways or a little bit green tomorrow, I should be good to go. So let me know how you guys did. I'm hoping you guys were able to sell off your shares if you got assigned puts like I did last week. Let me know how much you profited, and also let me know what your return was based on how much collateral you had tied up. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And if you just want to take a look at Chewy, just because we've been talking about it, it looks like Chewy popped, traded sideways. Chewy hasn't been doing much at all lately in terms of movement. Let's take a look at Disney. So Disney also kind of dropped and then traded sideways today. It actually rallied pretty good today. Disney opened up, I believe, in the low 1-teens. So let's see. I was watching Disney a little bit. Yeah, Disney rallied pretty good. So it opened up at 112, ended up closing at 117. So Disney rallied $5 today. Actually went up 1.4%, which is really good. So maybe I'll look into getting some puts into Disney next week. Who knows? And then let's take a look at IWM. So IWM also rallied hard today too. So let's see, that's the Russell 2000 ETF. So very similar to the Disney chart, right? It opened up in the red about 3.3%. So it opened up at 133. And it rallied all the way to 141. So it actually ended up rallying quite a bit. So that's interesting. You know, I still regret selling off my IWM shares at 127, but again, profit is profit at that point. So yeah, I mean, those are all the stocks on my watch list right now. I don't know if I'm going to end up making any new options trades this week just because it's been so volatile in terms of the market. Let's just take a quick look at what the popular options were this week out of curiosity, or I should say today. So it looks like Wow, a lot of calls on the board. So looks like people were very bullish today, seeing, based on what they saw in the market. So GSK is, I believe, GlaxoSmithKline, so a pharma company. Tesla, AMD. People are buying AMD calls at 55 strike. So that's interesting. I mean, that's good to know. I believe AMD closed the day at, 54 and some change, right? So people are a little bit bullish on AMD, but not by much. Actually, at 54.80 is what AMD is at right now. So that's interesting that people are buying 55 calls. It's not that far away from where the stock is trading, so that's interesting. Apple, not a lot of AMD. Here's AMD. There's a 54 call, 60 call. Let's see, can we find any Micron? There's another AMD at the 56 strike. I don't see any Micron as far as the popular stocks for today, so maybe people are, here's Micron, a 5250 call. That's interesting. So yeah, a lot of, just looking at the calls and put side, much more calls than there are puts. So that's kind of that makes me feel better, because that means a lot of people are bullish on the market. So if I did end up selling some puts and opening up some positions, I should be okay, knock on wood. But I do think that if I do end up opening up some puts, let's say on AMD again, I'm going to be super safe and try and get a 0.4%. I'm not going to try and risk like a 0.5 or 0.8 or 1%. I'm going to sell them far out of the money. Looking at AMD, it's a 54.80. So let's just say I want like a 90% return on my risk minimum. That would be a $50 strike. I'm not too happy with that. It's only $4 away, $4 and some change away from the stock price. So if I can get in at like 46, 47, 48, again, like I saw this morning, and collect decent premium that's 0.4%, maybe I will open up a cash secured put on AMD, because that way I have a good buffer between where the stock is currently and where it would have to fall to. But yeah, I would actually love to get into some AMD shares in the 40s. I think that would be fantastic. I haven't been assigned in the 40s yet. My AMD cost basis has always been in the low 50s. But if I can get in the low 40s and then rise back up to 50s, that would be a lot of stock appreciation profit. So anyway, that's just my thoughts for today. Like I said, I'm very happy with how the market turned out. I think it was good for me and my positions, and I was able to accomplish 50% of my plan. And I strongly believe that tomorrow I'll be able to accomplish the other 50% of my plan in terms of being as much cash as I can, or being 100% cash this week as possible. So hope you guys had a good day too. Let me know how it went. And as always, happy trading.